If you have a terminal illness, such as cancer or some other life-limiting or life-threatening disease, do you need a lawyer to apply for disability? I'm Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney. I represent clients in all 50 states, and I'm able to do that because disability hearings are now done virtually by telephone or video, so where you live, where I live, doesn't make any difference. It's all done, again, over the phone or over the computer. And I want to talk to you today, answer a question I get sometimes. Unfortunately, if you have a life-limiting disease, some sort of a terminal illness, do you really need an attorney to file for disability? And the answer is no, you don't need an attorney to file for disability, whether you have a terminal condition or anything else. You can certainly file on your own. So really the question is it a good idea to have an attorney? And I think that really kind of depends. Social Security recognizes that people with terminal illnesses, life-limiting illnesses, those cases need to be expedited. In fact, there's a number of ways to do that. One, and you can do your own research on this, but one of the things they have is something called the TERI, T-E-R-I, which stands for terminal illness cases. There's a listing of illnesses under the TERI category. There's also something called compassionate allowances. These are conditions, mostly these are chronic long-term conditions that Social Security recognizes are going to be life-limiting and also would make you appropriate for a rapid approval. And third, of course, are the listings themselves. I've got a website dedicated to the listings called meetalisting.com, meetalisting.com, just like it sounds. And so if you meet a listing, you're within the TERI guidelines, or you have a compassionate allowance case, then Social Security theoretically should pick that up when you apply and go ahead and process it for rapid approval. And I'll even tell you, if you apply on your own, the last page of the application, there's a section for comments, and that's where you should put on there, please evaluate this case as a TERI case, as a compassionate allowance case, as a listing level case, and provide the actual number for the listing. And in theory, Social Security should recognize that and go ahead and process your case accordingly. And sometimes they do. And certainly, I will tell you that if you are in that situation and you want to apply on your own, no reason not to do that. People sometimes call me and ask me about that. It doesn't bother me. I think that clearly if you deserve to be approved early and you can do it without paying an attorney, more power to you. I think you should do that. Where I think people do run into trouble sometimes is that sometimes these very complicated cases, a terminal illness case, a cancer case, something that's within the compassionate allowance, these medical cases themselves become very complicated in that there's a lot of medical records, voluminous medical records from multiple doctors, multiple specialists, and so when Social Security starts requesting the records, rather than getting 200 or 300 pages in, they may get 2,000 pages in. And the risk you run is that the adjudicator, who's looking at this really from the eyes, essentially like an insurance claims adjuster, the adjudicators work really hard, but they're overworked and underpaid, and they get this huge stack of medical records, and it's all electronic. It may be to the point where they get so much in that they get overwhelmed, and it's easier just to say, you know what, I'm not going to take the time to go through this, I don't have the time. They just issue a denial. So one of the things that an attorney can do is sort of pre-digest that data and identify specific pages in the medical record that prove that the case is in fact one that should be processed for an early approval. Or what I do is I look at the appropriate listing, because every case that's either a TERI case or a compassionate allowance case would be a listing level case almost by definition. And I've actually had a typist, and I did this several years ago, go through most of the listings, the ones that I see, and produce a form, a checklist form for that listing, and I've added some questions to it based on my experience, and we send that to the doctor. And so what I'll do is, if I have a case that I think should be approved early, I will take the form that really tracks the listing or the compassionate allowance. It's in a checklist form that's 1 or 2 pages, get it to the doctor, and get the doctor to complete it, and then submit that along with the medical records. That tends to move things along. And if you don't have that, obviously you could just print out a copy of the listing or the compassionate allowance page or the TERI page and print that out, give it to your doctor and say, please write a brief letter basically stating that this individual meets this requirement, should be processed for an early approval. Usually, when people call me, if they've got a terminal illness, I'll tell them to go ahead and try it on their own. If they don't get anywhere, then call me back and I'm happy to jump in. Some people don't want to deal with the stress of it, so I'll get in early on and try to get the case approved. And like I said, I just do it by creating a form. And I will say this about the payment part, because some people say, well, why should I pay a lawyer if I've got a terminal illness which could be approved early? Realize that in the disability world, in an SSDI case, there's a 5-month waiting period. So the first 5 full months of disability, there's no past due benefits. There's no money being paid to you or to the attorney. So a lot of times what I see with people who have terminal illnesses is they realize they don't even know they're sick, and then they go to the doctor and get this devastating news. They then they stop work and they apply for disability. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, that 5 months is enough time for the Social Security to get the records in to go ahead and make a decision. If I'm involved in it, that's typically what I'm trying to do, is get it done very quickly. I'd say half the time I'm involved in one of these terminal illness cases, I get the case approved within that first 5 months. There's no attorney's fees, there's no past due benefits. The person will get their ongoing benefits going forward and get, of course, eventually access to Medicare if they're fortunate enough to live that long, or in certain cases like ALS, they get it right away. And I don't mind that, because again, people say, well, why would you do that and not get paid? Because it's the right thing to do, quite frankly. So many times on the terminal illness cases or TERI cases or listing level or compassionate allowance cases, I'll process the case, try to get it approved early on, knowing that I may not get paid anything. And I think most attorneys who do this work realize that sometimes you just got to do what you got to do and do the right thing for your client, whether you get paid or not. I'll tell my client, if I don't get paid, write me a nice review. You just say something, write a nice review. If you feel like you want to pay something, make a donation to your favorite charity, in my honor or something like that. The point is at the end of the day, if you are unfortunate enough to be in a situation where you have a life-limiting disease, you should get approved, takes that stress off, gets a little bit of money for your family, and like I said, whether the attorney gets paid or not, it really doesn't make much of a difference to me. I'm trying to get somebody approved. Sometimes the process may drag on 4, 5, 6, 7 months. There may be 2 or 3 months of past due benefits. Maybe I'll get $200 or $300. Again, it's not about the money at that point. It's really about trying to get somebody approved who deserves to get approved. And there are a few cases, I'll tell you, where even though I've done everything I can to do to get it approved early, it still takes a year. It still takes 8 or 9 months for Social Security to do its thing. I am, during that time, reaching out to the adjudicator saying, look, my client has a life-limiting condition. Go ahead and approve this case. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I try to make my involvement as much as the client wants me to do. If it can take some stress off, I've got a case I just took in recently where the case is clearly going to get approved. It should be approved very quickly. There'll probably be no money in it. But again, it's the right thing to do for this person, so I'm happy to do that. Not that much work on my part. And again, if I can get them approved early, it's going to make a difference in this person's life. If it does take longer than 5 or 6 months and I end up with a couple $100, hopefully I got them approved before they would have otherwise gotten approved. And again, that's just the right thing to do. So that's how I approach that. That's the best answer to the question. No, there's absolutely no requirement for it. It can be helpful in some situations, and many times it's being done by the attorney, and I can't speak for others, but it's being done by the attorney really with no expectation of payment, because it's going to be done quickly enough where there won't be any past due benefits. But like I said, for me and for many of my colleagues, that's just fine. So hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, Facebook, leave me a comment. And if I can be of help to you, please visit me at SSD Answers. That's a place there for a case evaluation. You can download my Secrets to Winning Disability Survival Kit. I mentioned my other resources like meetalisting.com, which can help you. And again, look up under Social Security's regulations or their website, the compassionate allowance and the TERI case. I'll put that in the notes here. here to this to the YouTube video where you can link to that. And again, if you're unfortunate enough to be in that situation, or you have a loved one who is, then by all means pursue that to try to get yourself approved early. Take some stress off, put some money in your pocket, and again, starts the clock running to get you approved for Medicare. So this is Jonathan Ginsberg wishing you the best. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the Survival Kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.